quiet. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome back to Social Intercourse. If you're new here, we talk a little bit about this, that, and everything in between with my co-host Ranji, Vicky, and a future member of our Golden Girls retirement community, which is the topic of today, Jennifer Wiggins. And we've lost her.
Call 911.
This is why we have to all live together. Hi, Jen. Thanks for being here.
Dramatic entrance. I love it.
This is perfect.
Of course. She has to make a scene when she comes in.
Very early for Jen right now in the morning, so we'll forgive her for disappearing. To start the show, Jen, Vicky, and many other people sent me this trending article right now about 7 friends who bought a mansion together to retire in. So, Vicky, for those people who are listening in or watching that don't know, if you can recap so everyone's up to speed, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's circulated around a bunch of social media posts, but the original writer was this freelance writer named Jade Small, and she wrote about these women in China, in Guangzhou, China, who bought a mansion together out in the middle of nowhere and refurbished it because they decided that they wanted to, for their golden years, after their some of them are married, after their kids left and they were on their own, they all wanted to live in this house together. And they each have their own separate room, and then they have like a community area, and then they have like a tea ceremony tent, and they all have sort of their own specialty things that they do and their own like different things they brought to the house. And so they decided that this is how they wanted to live the rest of their life out, is sort of this tribe of women. And this is something that we've talked about forever. So we kind of passed it around saying, see, someone else is doing it. And that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, because they started it off from a joke, and we joke about it all the time. So starting from Jen, Vicky to Ranji, can you guys just say why you guys want to live in this whole retirement future community together, what it entails, what you guys want it to look like? Because maybe you and Jen and Vicky have spoken about it, but we've never actually spoken about the details together as a group. So
all
take
of
it
us.
away, Jen. What do you want?
Oh, we're starting with me. Okay.
Yeah.
Geez, Louise.
Well, I told her, Jen, that you had talked about it. So if you want to talk with me about it, you don't have to be on the spot. But yeah.
You mean
we can talk about our compound.
The compound?
Do you want
the real story of the compound, or
it's whatever you want. It's our fantasy compound. What we want.
So when Vicky and I discussed this is not the reality of actually, like, the fact that this is a reality is pretty fantastic, and that what these ladies did, I think, is a beautiful thing, and I think it's perfect because none of us can deal with these guys these days. So it's like, let's just all live together and we got each other. We all love the creatures. We'll take care of each other. But when Vicky and I had this little brainchild of the compound,
I don't remember how it started. Do you remember?
I remember. I don't remember how it started. I just remember how it kind of started. Anyway, so there would be, for instance, the most perfect man in the world, Henry Cavill. We'd be like,
I think it started with him.
It didn't. It started way before him, but it would be like, okay, he's going in the compound. And then as it would progress, we would see these guys. I mean, it's like, again, reality, no guys, no, just, well, I mean, whatever. But at the time, like, oh, he's going in the compound. Oh, he's definitely coming in the compound. Oh, he's going in the, so it'd be like this whole, like, instead of all the beautiful animals we're going to have, it was all the beautiful men.
So it's more like a
Yeah, it was
beautiful
like
men's
this idea that
sanctuary.
no, it's kind of like a reverse harem, probably. We sort of had, you had to be compound worthy. So we would have the discussion as whether you were worthy of being in the compound. And then it was sort of, we called it the compound because we sort of lived in the main mansion part. And they were locked in the basement or in like cages on the ground or something. I don't know. But they're only taken out for our amusement. And then
we can take them out. We can let them out to serve us wine.
Right, right. We'd walk them, water, whatever. Yeah. And then we'd put
We'd
them
water
back
them.
and, right. We'd peel our grapes or something, and then they'd return to wherever their cages were. And that was kind of how we
go back to your hole.
Comfortable cages.
Nice
obviously.
upscale.
Yeah.
Compound.
Yes.
Locked rooms.
Satellite TV and everything. So yeah, that's
okay. So how has that evolved into reality? How would you?
We don't like to live in reality.
Nobody needs reality. There's no place here.
Well, okay, Ranj, what's your maybe you could bring us back to reality.
Why would you want to live in this whole community with these two and their prisoners of love? I don't know.
This was way back when.
It's the compound.
There are worse things. So I grew up as an only child. So a lot of my life, I was just really lonely and wanting people around me. When I got to college, I joined a sorority. And for 3 of my 4 years in college, 3 of my 5 years, I was on the 5-year plan. But it's beside the point. That's another discussion. I lived in a sorority house for 3 of those years with 40 other women. And to some people, that would sound like their biggest nightmare, but I freaking loved it. I loved every minute of it. And we were packed in there like sardines. I lived in one very small room with 3 other girls. We made that work with 2 sets of bunk beds. And the room was so small, I think it only had room for 3 closets. So somebody's closet was like down the hall. And we didn't care. We loved it. And if they didn't kick you out when you graduated, I would probably still be the old lady living in the sorority house to this day. I loved it. I loved having all those people around me. And so, a lot of times my own mother, her biggest fear is having to, not being able to live on her own anymore and then going to a retirement home and having to kind of have assisted living. I don't feel that way at all. I can't wait. I feel like I'm going to be reliving my sorority days. I want to be around people my own age and that same, point of life as me. I think it's going to be really fun. Like, I totally want to go play bingo and do the table beach ball games they do. Like, I kind of want to do it now. So that's what I just think it'd be fantastic. I don't know. I just want to be around people. And I think,
sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say,
you were saying,
as far as like the logistics of it, whether men are invited or not invited, I really love men. So I don't want to live without men. I want them, but I think we could kind of do it a different way. So the way that we do it in society now is we get married, we go off on our own, we have children, and that takes up all of our time. And we don't really get to see our friends because we can't fit them into our lives anymore. I would just like to kind of flip that in reverse. And if we lived in a compound, the people that we lived with would be our main priority. And they would get all of our, time and attention. And then whatever is left over, we can go on dates with the men and we can fit them in as needed. And I think that would be perfect because I don't know about you guys. I think my life would be more stable because nobody, like my personal relationships, my professional relationships, even my family, nobody triggers me and stresses me out more than the man that I'm dating. So I think if he had a smaller role in my life, I would be so stable and good and happy and I would have less stress. Yeah, I don't know. I have some notes. Let me see. Oh, one last thing. So I did this last night at like 12:30. I had all these epiphanies when I do my best thinking in bed. And so I think we all take our partners for granted anyway. It's like you get married, you see them day in and day out every day, and they just become kind of like a staple anyway. And so if we only see our men every once in a while and just go on dates and go out and have fun, you would genuinely be excited to see them every time. You would get those like butterflies that you get in the beginning of the relationship. So I think you could keep the honeymoon longer. I just really think I'd be happier that way.
I have a question. So for all
Yeah.
of you guys, if we had that whole idea of letting the men come once in a while, and let's say one wants to move in, do we take applications? Do we have veto power? Can we kick them off the compound?
It needs to be a democracy.
What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is really complicated.
So again, when I initially was saying it was when Vicky and I had this brainchild, like a decade ago, like what, I don't know, but reality would be like a smaller sorority house, but with people, with your friends, with the people that you know and love, like you guys, and when we say the men, it would be basically like our existence now, when you go and you date, if you find somebody that's not a complete narcissist. I'm sorry, I live in LA. And realize that this person is worth giving up what I do on the day, like da 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 da. You're worth giving up time with my dogs. Okay. And then you go on a date, but the actual living quarters is supposed to say, I was an only child too, but I'm different than you because I like to be alone.
I actually like to be alone too, but I need a balance. I can get too far in that direction. Sometimes I realize that I'm like, okay, I haven't had public in a lot of days. I really need to get myself out. So yeah, I think a balance.
Yeah. But I think that it would just be, this is your home life. This is the home. This is the family. And then go do your thing. Like, we don't all have to do stuff together,
And you can go shack up if you want at their place.
But I think, Rachel's
Jen and I live together.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
No, I'm just saying, if the guy wanted to live there, I think it would upset the balance of the house, because then there's drama in the house.
So, Vicky, you guys, this is my other question. Because when I have an idea compound or village in my mind, it's tiny homes. We all each have our tiny homes next door to each other in a circle.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The reality. The reality has to be
just
different.
So that
you have to have more separate.
Because again, living in a communal house together, I think with all our personalities, we might kill each other.
The one in China, they bought a mansion. The one in China, they bought a mansion. It's one house, and they each have a house, and it's basically sitting there waiting for them as their children grow older, and they either get divorced or their husbands die or whatever, and then they will move in. So it's kind of like, it is like a retirement home per se, more than kind of, I think our idea would be more like a little village where like you'd have the little like village pagoda in the middle, and you'd have your little tiny houses around it, and then you could kind of have your own space. So if you wanted to take them out of the cage for the day or something, you could in your own separate space, but like we could still do wellness checks, and we could still watch your dog when you went on vacation, or we could still like if you broke your foot, like a lot of this stuff for me was I took care of my parents when they were older, and so I don't have kids. So then you have that sort of thought, well, who's going to take care of me when I'm older, and who's going to help with that sort of, if you don't want to be in full care retirement, or if you can't afford that, which, my parents never could, but none of us have kids. So that's a horrible reason to have kids. And there's no guarantee that you're going to outlive your kids, or your kids are going to want to take care of you and not be complete assholes. So that's not like a reason, but you start to think about that as you care for your parents. You go, okay. I mean, I remember sitting in my mom's hospital room thinking, well, okay, I'm the baby, and what's going to happen when there's no one left when I'm going to be her age. So what am I going to do? And Jen and I, I would text Jen, and she'd be like, don't worry, baby, I got you. Like, we're going to be, we're going to live together. And so that was comforting to me to know that I would have sort of this our tribe, as we used to, we call it.
Right.
So I think more of that idea of that kind of compound.
Right. Ranji, I'm going to designate you as my animal caretaker if I am not well,
Hey, wait,
dementia or something.
what's wrong with
I'd
us?
like
What?
You don't like
I'm
Aggie.
offended. Not true.
No, my
I will
my
be the
dog. I
designator.
trust. Ranji has the Great Danes, so I know she can put Aggie in her place.
I don't know, Jen.
I
I'd
get
be
super
offended if I were
cats.
you.
I'm kind of offended.
Okay.
Oh
I'm the
wait,
cat
Jen's got the
whisperer.
big dogs too. That's right.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
All right,
I
so you
think
guys,
we're both offended right
you
now.
guys, you guys can fight over my dogs as long I know y'all take care of my dogs,
But
and
that's
also look
So
on
now,
me once in a while.
Randy can take care of Jen's dogs. I don't want to take care of those beasts because they would kill me probably
Oh,
and
they're
beat
so
me for dinner.
sweet.
wouldn't.
They're so sweet.
Yeah, they
They're
probably
the
would.
best.
They probably would.
I'm opposed to a hot groundskeeper that might live on site. Speaking of having men that live with
Yes,
us, just maybe like that, like eye candy.
maintenance worker. Yeah, whereas
I don't know. I mean, he would be like off
tight
on
shorts
the
and a tool belt.
fringes.
He'd have his own
So
like
how?
hipster hut, like in the corner of the
Right. And I want a garden. I'll
dragon.
exchange pet sitting duties if y'all can garden. I want to
I
eat the
can.
fresh,
Yeah.
healthy food, but I don't want to garden it.
So we're missing
That's
a
Rachel.
member of the community, which is not me. I kill plants. I keep animals
Same.
alive. I kill plants. But
Same.
Steph, who is a
That's
part of
true.
the community, she gardens.
Oh,
She
right.
knows how to keep plants alive.
Perfect.
So she is the guard. She will keep us fed. So, well, she'll garden. I'll cook. So, when should we do this, you guys? Rachel, when
Now?
should we move all now?
Now I'm ready to go.
Ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to
Are
go
people
now.
are people doing it
Ready-
now? Like before
Yes,
retirement?
actually, I have some articles again. I'm so excited when I get to share my articles. Okay, so there are other groups of people in the population that are doing this besides just people of retirement age. So I have an article from the New York Times that I came across that I loved, and it's mothers are living single together. They call them mommunes. And says women are joining forces under one roof to split household bills and raise their children together. And they're saying it takes a village, but then these single mothers that, maybe have gone through a divorce and they weren't expecting that. Nobody gets married expecting to get divorced. Or maybe you get pregnant and decide to have a child and there's never been a man in the picture to help. They say it takes a village. Everybody says it takes a village. And then these single mothers are looking around and they're like, okay, but where is my village? I just think our society, like the Western society, kind of has it wrong. As humans, we are meant to live in community together. I think we're biologically driven to do that. And what do? We get married, we go off on our own, we isolate, and we have children, and we live these relatively isolated lives. A lot of us do. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good for our mental health or emotional health. None of it. I think society as a society, we get that wrong. So I love this. This is an interesting stat. It says nearly 80% of single parent families in the United States are headed by single mothers. And that's from the U.S. Census Bureau. So these single parent families are more likely to experience poverty, psychological stress, low self-esteem, and lack of emotional support. No wonder why everybody is on Prozac and having trouble managing life. I think that one person can't fill every responsibility in society of an entire family. And that's, what these single mothers are out there trying to do. And, sharing resources is key. And then, here's one. So Holly Harper and Heron Hopper. That sounds like a vocal warm-up
Meant to be.
exercise.
It does.
Holly Harper and Heron Hopper. They're living in this commune. It's way too early for that, guys. And they are longtime friends, and they refer to each other as platonic spouses. They're just throwing the rule book out for single women, throwing it out the window. So I love that. I was like, fantastic. We need to support each other more, especially as women. And then the other article that I have is from Reuters, and it's talking about millennials. So they're another segment of the population. If you think about it, millennials already have this sharing mindset. They already live in a culture of sharing. They share their home with Airbnb guests. They share their cars. They do Uber pooling, and they rent their cars out when they're out of town, like with services like Zipcar. They share co-working spaces. So you can imagine where this would just be a natural fit for millennials to kind of all get together and live together and share resources. And not to mention that the jobs pay a lot less, and millennials have a lot more debt. They're not able to they're struggling to buy homes on their own. So
Right.
that's another segment
So,
of the population. I think this is going to take off,
yeah,
guys,
well,
with
I don't know.
everybody.
So Jen, Vicky, would you guys do that right now? Like buy a house together or start building that compound
It, it,
together right
it
now?
would have to be built logistically, the way we're talking about it, it would have to be built. Whereas the girls in China did like a mansion. Um, Vicky and I lived together, and I think it worked primarily because we both enjoy our own space, and there's no like, well, why isn't she talking to me? Why is she in her room? Why, da, 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 da? There's none of this stuff, and then we would enjoy the communal space. This particular thing that we're discussing, this actual village would have to be built. So logistically, it's not something we can do right now. We would have to find the land for it. We would have to find the location for it. We'd have to find whatever. But
I
honestly,
have a spare bedroom. Somebody come move in my spare bedroom right now. I want somebody to live with me.
I'm moving to Kentucky.
The
Well,
dogs,
I
the
mean,
dog compound.
I do have a big backyard. Like it's pretty big.
Should
If
I just
someone
pitch
wants
a
to build
tent?
I mean, you can build a whole, I could
Pitch
probably
a
fit
tent
in
out there.
like 2 or 3 little houses back there or sheds. I mean, your men could go in there. I don't know.
We'd have to fight your dad for the space.
Yeah, since my parents live with me, but at some point,
Yeah, it's different. It's
unfortunately, they
it's this
won't be
idea of
around.
being roommates and like pulling resources to be two single moms together or something. I think is a totally different concept than what we're talking about. Like, roommating is something that a lot of people do, when they're younger, when they're older, whatever. That's a different sort of idea than this kind of community, I think, where it's multiple. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm
Because
saying? It's like, it's
yeah,
not
because
like,
sometimes people can be roommates, but they live very separate lives. They literally just share space under the same roof. But I even think because that these single mothers, they called each other their platonic spouses, so they're obviously joining their
More than
lives in a
roommates.
more meaningful way than just showing
Mhm.
up. Because I've had roommates that
Well,
I barely talk to.
talking about the millennials, I did read about 5 girls in Austin who actually bought a house together. So it's not just roommating; they're putting all their names together on a deed, and
right. But
that's a little more
how is that different
communal.
than, yeah. Yeah, the
That's more communal
legalities of
thinking.
that too
Yeah.
is, mm,
But they did it
yeah,
with
you'd
the
have to.
idea that they'll always go back to it. Like they could rent it out if they want, but they all live there. If they marry, they leave, but they can always come back if they want. That house is always there for them at different points in their lives, kind of thing. So I like that idea.
I,
I like that now.
I lived with
I
Rachel
always,
for 2 years, right?
Yeah. It was
And
about
I
two
love
years,
living
right?
with Rachel. She's been my favorite roommate I've ever had. It was really
Oh,
easy.
thank you.
Yeah, I loved it. I'd move in with
Except
you
for my
right now.
dog. Harold was.
Well, he went through a
I
phase. Harold had a
I would get
phase,
phone
but
calls at work with both of them
crying.
crying.
Harold would be crying in the back. I'd be trying to work from home and Harold would just scream, just be mad.
So
But that was Harold. That wasn't Rachel. That was her child. We got through it, but I I really like like Rachel would cook. I don't cook. I would love to come home and she'd be in the kitchen. I clean. That's my contribution. Rachel doesn't really love the
I don't
cleaning part.
clean.
And it worked
I like to
beautifully. It
pay
was a
people
really
to
good
clean.
synergy. It was a good synergy. And I didn't mind cleaning up like stuff that she left out because she cooked. So I think if you look at it more as a collaborative effort, you'd have to go in it with the right mindset,
But
Vicky, I think.
to me, that's more of a platonic relationship, like those two women we're talking about. There's like, your platonic wife or your, and that's a different, to me, in my mind, that's
Dynamic.
different from having this sort of community retirement place or support system when you're older. That's kind of a specific.
Well, yeah, it is different because
You know what I mean?
retirement age is is it more of a need or a want when we're old though and retiring?
Both.
And the younger people, is it more of a want than a need? Because they're searching for that community and communal living. And when we're older, it's kind of like, girl, I got no kids. I'm sick. You need to check on me because you're my girls. Is it more of that?
Right. It's more, it's that support network of what do you do as you age? If, what kind of, especially in our society where, the aging population is not necessarily one that's looked after very well. Like we have to kind of look after ourselves. So to me, it's more of a,
I couldn't even find anyone to. Sorry, Vicky.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead. I don't know why I was so excited to say this, but I was just going to say, like, I couldn't even find anyone to take me to my colonoscopy appointment. Literally.
Right.
Like, that was a really rude awakening for me because everybody that I know works, and I didn't want to ask anybody to take the day off work just to do this for me. And, I don't have a spouse and my family doesn't live in town. And I was just like, I rescheduled it like 5 times before I finally went. So that was like eye-opening. I'm like, all right, like I have to have a plan.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think. I have a question because you got, Ranji, your mom was here with you recently visiting. Jen, your mom lives separately, and Vicky, you had your mother living with you too. I had like that are their generation, their retirement. Like it would have been great if they had a community in a sense. Because it's really like either move in with us or like we have to constantly check in on them. But if my parents had younger friends who could also be right there with them all the time, helping them, and if they helped other people, then I wouldn't have to constantly be on their case at home. Like, did you leave the stove on? Did you do what is that? I don't know, Vicky. Jen? What do you guys think about?
Well, I'm always sorry, Mom. I'm always afraid. No, I have these thoughts. Like if I text her, I mean, this woman is playing pickleball every week, whatever. But I'm like, what if she falls down the stairs? What if, anything could happen and there's nobody there? So that's where my paranoia comes in. And that's where I get concerned. And I think that it would have been a great idea for her. I mean, I just call up my cousins. I'm like, have you checked on my mom lately? But if that's not available, it gets a little like, strange. And then we're going back to not having kids. And you look at the elderly community, and I was recently in a hospital with, one of my parents like a couple years ago. And it's like, if you don't have an advocate there for you.
Yes. Yes.
They leave you out in the hallway.
You fall through the cracks of the medical system so easy. It's scary. It's terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yes, Jen. Yes.
Right. And we know none of us have children or plan to have children, so we have to advocate for each other.
I think the idea of our parents' generation had more of an extended family, or you looked after your parents. That's just kind of what you did. And now that we've gotten to sort of our generations, things are different. We're not having the nuclear family. We're not having the extended family. We're not having that sort of. So we have to kind of plan for our own future and think, okay, who is going to advocate for me? I thought about when I had to do that for my mom, and I thought, okay, am I? Your mind goes to these strange places and you're like, okay, am I going to end up a ward at the state? Like, am I going to be,
right
in the corner and trying to figure out how to kill myself because I'm so miserable? Your mind goes there. And even when I'm thinking about this complex, I'm like, okay, so say you're the youngest one in the complex, Rachel. And but that, potentially we all die, and like we're dying off, and then you're alone in the compound by yourself. Like, what is that like? Like that's got to be a strange thing, because when you get older, your friends start dying off.
Suicide pact.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, do we even,
we're not taking
that?
suicide lightly. I'm just saying to the listeners, we're not taking
No, I
suicide
don't.
lightly. It's
I'm
actually a very,
sorry.
very big concern of
Sorry,
mine.
sorry.
Yes.
Delete.
I'm serious about that. But Randy brings up a
no,
good point.
just-
that is something I've thought about. Like,
No,
how do
just
I
to
go
be
out,
certain, you guys, I am the youngest, but I have the most health concerns and issues. So I might have dementia before all of you guys. So you guys will have to be feeding me and cleaning me up. Okay. So.
Right. How do I take care of my, can I bend over and pick up my socks? Can I do laundry anymore? Can I, am I going to be living in squalor in a porter place because I can't take, it's scary. That part is scary. And you try and take care of yourself so that you can move and do those things. But like, gosh, like if I don't clean my house now, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when I physically can't do it. Like,
That's what we pay the handsome cleaning men. Right?
That's what the handyman is for. Who's probably going to take advantage and steal all our money or something. Maybe if we leave him the compound and the will. Oh no, he probably just
then he'll kill us all. Like maybe he'll unalive us.
Yeah.
Well, no incentive. Just help us along. Now I'm trying to be PC.
I know. I'm probably going to get banned or you can shadow ban from YouTube so fast for this whole conversation.
Okay.
What the hell is this show?
Let's bring it back together. I'm sweating now. Okay, bringing it back. Vicki, we were talking about, again, talking about our parents and the other generations, but everyone really, like, what is the retirement plan look like for people? Like, my parents didn't have a retirement plan. It's just come live with me. I don't know. Did your parents have a retirement plan?
That was my parents' retirement plan too. Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this article in Forbes where it talks about having an idea that couples plan for retirement, but they don't plan for the second retirement, which ends up being statistically most women outlive their husbands by quite a few years. And how do they financially plan for that? And most of them don't. And so you end up like my mother lived, like 25 years ish longer than my dad did. So, and their retirement money was gone because my dad had cancer and he had hospital bills. And so all the money they'd saved for their retirement, was gone anyway. So, it was kind of like, how does she live the rest of her life? So she ended up, my brother and I not took turns, but she lived with both of us and then all of us together. And so they're people like Forbes are saying, financial planners are trying to get them to think of this very real possibility of happening and what does that financially look like for them, especially as women age for the second retirement. It's more based on their medical bills and their assisted living and that kind of stuff. It's not the, hey, let's go on vacation now that we're retired and we can travel the world. It's like, okay, who's my fiduciary, who takes care, who has my paperwork for medical power of attorney and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, that's a real concern for, all couples of same sex. Someone's going to pass before you are or they are. So it's a really good thing to think about, which, are we taking applications? Can they come join our compound community?
That's hard, right? As one drops out, do we bring another one in? What's the legalities of it? What's the
One of the articles that I read, that's what they kind of did. They bought a big house and there was extra rooms. And so they would kind of rent out rooms and you had to apply and be accepted. But then things got a little hairy because then two of the women actually fell in love with each other and they had never been in a same-sex relation. And so then they moved out. So then there were these empty spaces again. So there were some challenges.
It's like old Melrose Place.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I don't know. It's because women outlive men statistically. So as we have our compound in the future, we should allow these women who haven't had their second retirement plan made to be able to come live in our community if they want, as long as they fit in our community. I like the idea of those women in China who each had a skill. So Jen, what would your skill be? What would you bring to the table?
Come back to me.
I know Jen's skill. Jen's in charge of security. So the electric fence, the alarm systems, all that. That's what
All the
she's in
guns.
charge of. All the guns,
weapons.
all
Jen.
the yeah.
I might keep you designated as security. That's a great idea. But also our game person, keep us entertained with ideas, keep us
Sure.
young with games.
Sure.
Entertainment.
Yeah,
Keep our entertainment.
No, she
I
has
want you to
no-
wear a
she has
jester
no
hat.
patience. Yeah.
I'll run, first of all, two things. I'll run PT in the morning and make sure you guys stay healthy. Second, Vicky had breakfast every morning when she lived with me. That is one
True.
thing. So I know you're a cook. I'm a cook too. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would I would check the perimeter constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Keep you on patrol every morning.
I love it. I love that. Vicky, what skill or what are you gonna bring to the community?
I don't know. I think I would keep everybody sane. Maybe I'm in charge of mental health.
Mental health. Okay, I love it. I
Maybe
mean,
that's
again,
it.
I think we all have to entertain each other. But Vicky, you should keep us young
Yeah.
with all like the young news and keeping us like up to date with trends.
my pulse on my finger on the pulse of the younger those kids today. You know what they're into? This Tweety X thing.
What?
Oh, Twitter turned to X.
X.
No.
Oh,
Oh God.
see, you got to keep Jen in the know.
Okay,
Vicky.
Rachel. Perfect job. Thank you. Thanks, boss. I got it. I got you, girl.
You brought it up. Vicky, and then Randy.
I think also I'm probably tech support. Knowing the three of you, I'm
Tech support.
probably gonna have to be like, Vicky, my phone. I hit a button. What do I? It's the thing happened. I don't know. Yeah. That too.
I will just, I guess, take care of the animals. I could maybe lead some yoga classes and some meditation classes to keep everybody
Perfect.
balanced. And I could clean up y'all's shit.
I mean,
what I
you're
got.
gonna
Our
have to be
dog's
in charge
shit.
of the money. Ranch is gonna
Yeah,
have
for
to be
free.
in charge of the money. Yeah.
The money. I'll be in charge of the money.
I mean, Jen and I don't have any money. Rachel doesn't have any money. The three of us have no money. You're in
Don't
charge
let me
of
spend it on people that I don't know. That's-
Rachel's gonna
Okay.
get
So
targeted by the.
I know I'll get all the scam calls, and I'm like, "Oh, you need the money? Okay."
Oh wait, my password. My
No.
order's been canceled. Here's my password.
No, Rachel.
I mean, I don't do that now, but I might have dementia, and I might not know. People are going to target me.
She'd be like, I got this email. This prince needs my help.
So Jen's gonna run PT in the morning. So while Jen
Yeah.
does PT, I'll make smoothies to keep us all, healthy and refreshed.
You're doing the PT.
She's in charge of the
too,
poop.
Penny.
Oh,
She's in
you know
charge
I
of
like
food.
PT. I like working out.
Good.
It depends on the time of day, but I like working out. So, okay. Joking aside, I really want to live with everybody going into the future. Steph, our dear Steph, who is in part of the compound, she does have a significant other, so he's allowed to visit once in a while. So she might decide she's not going to be part of the compound. We'll have to ask her. She'll be on next week. We'll have to ask her
It's
what
like
she
the
thinks.
women of Lesbos in Greek mythology.
What?
All the
Oh,
that's the origin of the word lesbian. Yeah, the women they all lived on an island called Lesbos together, and they weren't Amazons. They were just a community of women that lived separately. So we can call the compound Lesbos. I don't know.
Let's not, because that might
Sorry.
That might not
I'm now
work.
off the rails.
I mean,
Oh, sorry.
we want to be open to everything, right? Who knows? In our old age, Jen, we could be open. Like those
Don't
two
fall in
ladies
love
who
with
fell
me.
in love. You never know. So,
Jeff was always trying to get in my bed anyway when we lived together. I had to kick her out.
oh, you guys, this is gonna make people go crazy.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm starting to get there.
No, it's great because we always get into bed together.
I always said if I could be a lesbian, if I was not into men, if I could be a lesbian and Vicky was a lesbian, we would be the perfect couple.
Yeah.
Period. But we
So
were
close.
time, and we always be in pain on the floor from laughing. That would be our problem.
Hey,
But unfortunately for me, I like men, and that is my
I
downfall.
know. I mean,
We're
we all
stupid.
say that. Unfortunately, we all like men, and I don't.
Which is why we're all alone.
The truth. So much to digest today. So let's continue this discussion on social intercoursing. Everyone who doesn't know, we have an after show where we invite David and Steven, and we'll get their ideas, what they think about our whole island of Lesbos.
No, don't call it that.
Thank
This
you
just
for
took a turn.
listening in. Anyways, join us on Social Intercoursing. Thanks for listening and joining in. And if you find this to be fun and interesting, like, comment, share. Let us know how we're doing. Okay, everyone? Please. Love you all. See you next Tuesday.